Welcome everybody to Gem Collectors with Shawn. I am Shawn, and I'm ready to go. I have a lot to get to and show you. But overall, this week been a little difficult. 2nd year anniversary of my dad's passing, and for those of you that have been around any length of time, you know, out of the 5 other siblings, I'm one of 6 children. I was the one lucky enough to be born on his birthday. 30 years apart, we were really close. Luckily, got great grades in school because every birthday when it came around, and most of the birthdays were when I was in Sarasota, Florida. And that's also, of course, where I got a job every Saturday working at the Harris Rock Shop. And still is there. His son has taken it over. One of the largest rock shops I have ever known, seen. And I was taking a series of cabochon cutting lessons out on St. Armand's Circle and the back of a nice custom jewelry store. And this old hippie who was probably, I was, when I first started taking him, like I was 11, I guess. And he seemed so much older to me, but he couldn't have been but 21, 22, 23 years old, and was a master opal cutter. So I took a separate set of regular agate jasper cutting lessons, special whole set of opal cutting lessons, special whole set of lessons on how to cut and orient optical phenomenon stones, in other words, cat's eyes and stars. And so it was a amazing opportunity. And I remember it was one way, 17 miles. I know because I actually rode my bike all the way across the bridge, all the way out to Toledo Beach. And that was when I was a little bit more motivated. And it had nothing to do with rocks and minerals, but everything to do with beach and girls. So, yeah, it's amazing how far you'll ride your bike for a day in the 1970s on the beach as a teenager. Yeah, that's a whole other story. And the reason why I grew my mustache, because then getting into a surfer bar, I'll just call it that, was very easy. And at 15 was no problem. Yeah, before you can even drive, motivation to ride that bike, 17 miles. But it was a great time. I just wished I would have had my metal detector because you know what? Now, at my age, I would have skipped the girls. Go for the jewels on the beach. There is so much treasure left in the sand after every season, every day. And you know what? I'm never going to make fun of those old men in black socks walking the beach in the morning with their headphones on and their metal detector going, because when I had my 2 different jewelry stores at different times, the number of people that came in to sell or get advice on something that they have found metal detecting on a beach somewhere was numerable. And I realized that skip mining and prospecting in the creeks of North Georgia with an excavator and 3 different sluices, wetsuits, and all that. I have a fancy metal detector. I don't need anything. All I need is the beach. But all those years spent on the beach in Florida, just too hot. I like change of seasons, but I would have paid more attention if I was going to be out there to doing that. So, in that period of time, my dad, every one of my birthdays that came around, I would get to skip school and we would go fishing together. And so those are the memories I hang on to. And also after my mom passed away, because someone asked me, to think about the 2 things, and the 2 things that came to my mind were, playing hooky from school and going fishing. And the other was after my mom passed away, and I was only 31 when she did, so that was like 32 years ago. It had already been set up and tickets bought because my mom's and my dad's dream trip and country they always wanted to see was New Zealand. And so all of my other siblings had been married and families, and I happened to be the only one that was free. I was divorced at the time, and my son was young, and so being gone for a period of time was going to be 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So I got just my dad and me, or however you say that, and in a caravan they call it, which to us is a camper, and leaving Auckland with roundabouts, which I had never experienced, and now they're building them all over in North Georgia here, and driving on the left-hand side of the road. Instantly, leaving the airport, all this going on. And I remember that it wasn't until I got out of the city, that I settled into the think left. In other words, every time I turn out, everything. And, down in Queenstown, all the way at the southern tip of the southern island, where they actually have penguins, not far from that city. I remember one time turning out, and there was a car headed right towards me, and I thought to myself, one of us is in the wrong lane. It must be me, and I was, of course, the tourist. But if you didn't think I wouldn't make New Zealand into a rock hunting trip as well. And I did, all the way up to the Coromandel Peninsula, where if there was ever much gold in New Zealand, that's where it was found. Went to a New Zealand rock shop and bought some really unique items. Went to Hokitika because, greenstone, it's known as. So New Zealand nephrite is world renowned. And so I got to go to the Jade Center of New Zealand. And besides that, the volcanic activity on the islands is extensive and very approachable. They don't have idiots like we have here in the country that leave the marked path and go leave tracks or risk dying and burning up in a acidic volcanic pool. No. So you can approach, they don't build fences. They just leave it to the individual's responsibility to do the right thing. And I remember seeing, because you could get right there next to it, this just on a regular path. It wasn't a wooden plank, They left it to your sensibilities that you weren't going to actually step into hot, bubbling water. But right there, I got to see a limb of a tree. And it was in the bottom with silt and mud, and in the hot water, very highly concentrated in minerals. Because remember from sixth grade science, that the hotter a solution is, the more you can dissolve anything into it, whether it be salt, whether it be sugar. And if you ever want, it's easy to do, to make your own sugar crystals on a string. And that is what they call a saturated solution of sugar and water. You boil it until no more sugar can be absorbed into the water, and take a stick, dangle a string from it. Just take the little string and run it through the sugar bowl and get little crystals of sugar stuck into that string. Oftentimes you don't even have to do that. You really don't. But because what they'll do, as the water cools, and if it is oversaturated and there's nowhere else to go for the concentration of sugar or salt, whatever it may be, in that solution as it cools. So it starts to get rid of those minerals by creating crystals. And sometimes you have to start with seed crystals, other times not. Just as it cools, you need something for those crystals, or for the crystals to form upon. And it's something like a string is easier than like the side of the glass, or whatever you have the hot solution in. So in those pools, I could envision how exactly that limb could go from organic to petrified to stone. And I would have loved to know the chemical makeup of the water, high-end silica. And then it's going to have your other trace minerals like in Arizona that, created the reds and the yellows and purples and things like that. So the other thing was fumaroles. They have little vents everywhere on this one trail that you could just walk. And right there along the trail, you see a hole in the earth, maybe the size even of a pencil, and hot gases coming out of it, building up a little mound around, and yellow sulfur crystals right there, forming from the hot gases, again, as they're cooling, coming out, settling into an environment that precipitates out those crystals. And it was just really neat. Geology in action. And then the other cool thing was we went to this lake, and all you had to do was on the beach, the water felt cold on the surface, but all you had to do was dig probably no more than 6 inches to a foot deeper in the sand, and it was warm. And when we went, it was kind of cool out. So this warm, wonderful water, you could dig your own bath inside. So anyway, that was a memory of my time with my dad that I just wanted to share because I have a need to. And if I talk any longer, you're going to see another side of me, that sensitive side. So, yeah. And then my cell phone. You know how many cracks already in it. So last week I showed you the whale of mine on it, and it gave up the ghost this week. Yeah, just no hope. I went and did try to do every type of fix, and I got a 4013 and error message and tried to fix that. No hope for it. So it was without information still. And you know what? I realized these devices, which I'm not of the age or the generation of them at 63. No. I was forced into using them. All your information is on that phone, including, let's say, all your passwords. So if you want to use another device and access, first you have to load the app, right? Almost everything is on an app. Like, to pay my bills. Well, my passwords are stored. And so without the device with the password on it, how can, I don't remember all of them. They're automatic, or they're, facial recognition stuff. So, some bills won't get paid. Who cares? But anyway, the important thing was I had to jump some hoops also to access the comments. And again, not that many comments. The show always encourages comments, and you'll read another comment about how much people do enjoy that part of the show. So we started back trivia. So we're going to do that regarding no matter how many people enter. But you don't have to enter the trivia or do the trivia to leave a comment. Just leave a comment, talk about anything, or the rocks, minerals, or a story. Maybe a story about lost loved one. We've had plenty of those. And now I even worry about some of them. I haven't heard from Harry, but Harry said he wasn't going to be as active. Anthony, though, I haven't heard from Anthony. So Mr. Anthony out there, just check in if you would, just because I wonder about those young, healthy people when we don't hear from them for weeks or months now. So going back to even Miss Ursula, man, I feel bad. Anyway, let's get to the comments. And one last thing. Yep, taking a shower this morning, washing my hair. Yeah, this is might be one of those TMI. I don't know. Rinsing my hair. Never done this before in my entire life. Somehow I took my thumb and poked it into my eye so far back that I could feel the back edge of the bone eye socket with shampoo on my thumb. And it was very painful. I screamed out. So this rye looks a little funky. It took, I had to rinse all the soap, wash all the soap before I could even open it. It was just one thing after another, a bad morning. Anyway, we had questions to the trivia from last week were these. Name 3 primary locations mentioned that malachite is mined. And the 3 that I know we talked about were Namibia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or just the Congo will work, and Morocco. There are many other places malachite is mined, but those 3 are what you see probably the most of available. Name 3 minerals shown that were a botryoidal form. So we got a couple other answers I didn't really think about or expect, but I had to rule them as correct. So I know that we goethite was one, malachite, and agatized coral was a third. I had to end up accepting azurite because of that one piece that the azurite was banded with the malachite. It was so gorgeous from the side. I just wonder what a cab with that kind of banding in the azurite and malachite would look like. That would be fantastic. So with the banding like that, most likely if you stripped away the top of it, it would be botryoidal form, which is that kind of grape-like or semi-sphere-like formation. So those were the questions. Now, let's get to the comments and answers. I think everybody that commented left an answer. But again, remember, you don't need to. And you know what? We're all wrong all the time. So right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And I am real lenient if you close door. So the fewer people that write in, the greater the odds each one of them have of winning. And so we need some more entrance into this. Almost everybody has won 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe sometimes 4 or 5 times a year, sometimes back to back. More than sometimes some of you have won more than 4 or 5 times a year. And it's usually cool stuff. I think it's going to be a little bit of trivia, what we call it. I forget who first coined it. Maybe Miss Gabby, not sure. But trivia envy. And that's when someone gets something that somebody else really liked or is really cool. Today's freebie will maybe generate that in some because, well, when I show you, I'm going to talk about it. It's to me, they're special, and I think you'll find it as well. Okay, comments. Miss Cindy in Pennsylvania. Hello, Rock family. Shawn, you take good care of us. Thank you for the vanadinite and barite specimens. I love Moroccan minerals. So last week we didn't do trivia. Oh, and that's why I also wanted to add was hopefully, I think all the email systems are back. I know we missed, Miss Elisa said that, yeah, Miss Elisa, I did not get your email last week. So, and the week before that, there was only one. So that was one of the issues going on with gem shopping company-wide was the email systems were down. And so they've been slowly fixing them, bringing them back up and whatnot. So hopefully everybody's, it reads everybody's email and hopefully I didn't miss any. But if there were any that I do not read that you did send, let me know because I need to know. And I want to make sure that everything is up and running fine with the system because I had to change password, everything. It affected this show as well. Okay, Miss Cindy says, you take such good care of us. Thank you for the vanadinite on barite specimens. I love Okay, so let me get to my point that I was going to make after reading that again. So last week, we didn't do trivia the week before. So I just kind of felt bad and was in the mood to give something away. And so I just gave to everyone that left a comment a free vanadinite on barite specimen. Just because. That's kind of fun we have in this show. And to encourage those of you to leave comments. I mean, eventually, if we don't get enough comments or participation in trivia, we'll do something else. But yeah. So that's what they're thanking me for, was everyone that sent in. I think there were 4 people, so 4 freebies. All right. So it's the trivia answer. Miss Cindy says Morocco, Namibia, and the Congo. Very good. And botryoidal was goethite, malachite, and agatized coral. Those are the ones I listed, those three. But, okay, we'll go on. Everyone have a wonderful week ahead. Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania, where the thermometer on the front door says 111 degrees at 5:30 p.m. The sun beats on the front of the house all afternoon, so always the highest reading. The back door in the shade was 95, and that is in Pennsylvania. Imagine. And I saw the projected temperatures going into fall, and it's supposed to be just in Georgia here a little bit warmer than average, but there's places, including going into New England, that are going to be way warmer than, at least that's the long range projection. May or may not be right, but so far as I can remember, this is the hottest summer, and with 90s every day. I remember one summer here in North Georgia, it never hit 90 the entire summer, which that can happen, or you get just 1 or 2 days. But right now, it is just hitting it out mid-90s every day, and no rain, very little rain. Not good. My peaches, the tree just dropped them. They were all getting ready to ripen up, not enough water, whatever reason, and I still have one tree, and I'm talking about hundreds, and I don't know. But Teddy, did catch Teddy 1:40 p.m. in the afternoon on the back porch, midday. This bear climbed up that 4x4 post again, and it was only after the birdseed. I found a pile of peach pits underneath the peach tree, and I mean like 40 of them. And I can't imagine he bothered to spit the pit out. Maybe the deer just sat there and ate them all. Raccoon, we have every animal imaginable. So yeah, Big Teddy, he, by the time I went to get the camera, as it's still working, to take a picture of him, he knocked something over and spooked himself. And he shimmied down like a ballerina. He gets up, jumps up on that 2x4. And I'm talking about a 250 to 300 pound bear. Gets up on the 2x4 in the corner, spins himself around like a ballerina, and just goes right down a little 4x4 post. And without leaving claw marks in it. We've seen him do it. I wouldn't have believed it. Someone told me. We have no steps to our porch. Anyway. The fun of living in the woods, which we absolutely adore. Hot summer. Yep. Miss Elisa in Florida says, hello, Professor Shawn, the lovely Raven, GSN crew, and Rock family. I'm hoping this email comes through. Last week's email did not, or at least not at the time of the show. No, Miss Elisa, it didn't at all. Shawn, the magic of the show is real, and it's amazing when you perfectly discuss a topic that I had questions on, and you unknowingly answer them all. Thank you. And that's what I've talked about so many times, is there is something special going on here. Too many unusual coincidences and I've named them before because some of the ones are so spookily prophetic that it's like, could that really be a coincidence? So we'll just call it magic. How's that? My answers to this week's trivia are Namibia, the Congo, and you came so close. You said Libya. And you know what? You were really close, because what separates from Morocco, I think it's only at Morocco, because I've been to Morocco, Algeria, and then Libya. So you were right up on the coast of North Africa where you needed to be. But Libya for malachite and azurite, no, not the spot. But that was really, really, really a great answer. Really great. The second one was malachite was the botryoidal question. So you write malachite, azurite, and the agatized coral within parentheses. I feel like there was another one, but I can't recall. Yes, there was. It was goethite. Now, so you were the first one to mention azurite. So I had to think about that, because technically I really didn't see anything in azurite that was botryoidal. That was that incredible geode that had the malachite, botryoidal, stunning crystals on one side, and those amazing azurite crystals on the other. And so there was no botryoidal azurite on that one. But I got to thinking, yeah, on that Moroccan specimen where from the side you had that beautiful banding that undulated. If you stripped off the top of it, that would probably be botryoidal, which would be amazing because I don't see botryoidal azurite that often. But so I'm crediting azurite as a correct answer on that one. My favorite item of the week was the Namibian malachite and azurite specimen, the one I just mentioned. World class indeed. Absolutely stunning and deserves to be on a turntable display. Take care, everyone, and have a great week, Miss Elisa. That specimen, truly amazing, truly amazing. And I'm glad to see that you recognize it for the way I saw it and viewed it as well. And if you look through every single, because I did, every single malachite and azurite specimen on Mindat, and believe me, those are two common minerals that form together. So I'm talking about hundreds of pictures. There was not a single, like I said last week, single geode, nodule, bug. I typed in all those words in the search and I looked at every one, and there was not any of them with that much of a look of a geode. Because remember, I showed you how far back the opening actually went, and you could actually see a little bit of light at the very other end of it. And absolutely. But if you wanted to classify it any other way, I looked for those too. There just wasn't anything. And it was simply remarkable. Okay, Matt in Texas says, good day to all of our rock and mineral family. All items arrived safe and packed exceptionally. The choroid triangle and the big opal specimen are exceptional, have lots to view for many hours. And that's the fun thing about mineral specimens is that's what you definitely do with them. You get out that magnification, you get out that black light, you get out that, Geiger, if you have one, Geiger counter, and see what everything is, learn about it. And there's not all, I don't always list all the minerals. One thing, there's not always the room. Other things, you'll find things that I will have missed. I remember I was selling those epidotes for a long time, including those entire flats of them, before I realized that there were sphenes on some, zircons on others. And I would have looked at it differently if that was the case, and if I had known that. Okay. Now, I asked Matt because Matt is our retired principal, and hats off to Matt. That's someone who is in the educational business and retires as a teacher. It's almost like being in the service for what you've done, and especially as a principal, we know you've been in it then decades and have a master's or doctorates. And so hats off to you, Matt. And you also have a level of education that understands. And so Matt is going to be our resident expert on the R minerals, the radioactive minerals, because he is ordered, and I can't wait till he gets it, a Geiger counter like mine from the same company. And, so I'll read. But he is developing a collection, which could end up to be one of the, there's not many people that really go into that. So it doesn't take much to have a larger collection of the R minerals and fluorescent minerals than anyone else. And so I have had both. But I think Matt is ending up with them all, including those faceted econites that were stunning. And there's no more. That was it. You got the two that I had. Did I save one? I might have saved a small one. I'm going to look again. That's a good question. But I know you got the two big ones that were the good ones, the nicest ones. I only had 3 at the most. So anyway, he said he called Ludlum, that's the manufacturer of the Geiger counter, and appears they are behind on lab orders, and mine may not be assembled until September 9th. Bummer. That is a bummer. That's a long time to wait, and I can't wait till you have it, because you're going to change and alter your decisions on the setup of your mineral display based on the readings you're going to get. Now, mind you, when you that chart on the Urano Cersite that I gave you, it tells you how long you can hold something depending on the weight of it and the time spent, and compared to the level of danger, or what the acceptable amount of millirems, or dependent background. There's so many different ways they measure radioactivity. So there's conversions for it. So you can convert it to time spent, distance away, all these other things, or basically the count per minute. You're going to find that even under the specimens the Altunite, that is over 100,000 counts per minute, that I would offer them for sale without any true problem, except, if it was just like me handing them to you, that'd be different. Going through other people's hands, I don't want to do that. But if you actually calculate the acceptable danger, pretty much you have to, grind this stuff up, hang out on it, cut up some lines with it, do all these things, and you're safe, because I'm overprotective of all of you, and because the amount of exposure time is so much greater than any amount of time you'd be spent with them. I mean, I was looping the crystals right up to my eye. Now, if you did that every day as a job, day after day, I imagine it's going to have an effect on you. But that is hours if you did that, hours and hours and hours. Don't let it keep you from spending that kind of, I'm just going to sound weird, quality time with your mineral specimens. All of you, including the Altunite. I mean, I was going to loop that. And I was going to check it out. Even the Urano Cersite, which required a loop, was better. But the Altunite was like 5 times higher for the CPM reading, and I had no problem. And that's how I know it's not Altunite. That's how I know, because I could tell how the sharpness of the edges of the crystal, that it has not dehydrated, which is what becomes Altunite, is when the water is dehydrated out. You can actually restore them, but what you can't do is put the sharpness back to the crystals. You can actually take it from a Altunite, hydrate it back, and it becomes Altunite again. But what happens when the water dries out of those type of crystals, they usually turn to powder. So many people, I have had those put up for decades, probably, and it was still in perfect shape, because just the right amount of humidity it was in. I think I probably got lucky. Many other people can open up their specimen after years of not seeing it, and it be nothing but a bunch of powder, and that's the risk you take. So when you see a mineral and it has a chemical formula with a dot and then a number, like let's say 10, and then H2O, which we all know what that is, dihydrogen oxide, water, you know then that the rest of the molecular formula contains water as part of it. Most, if not, I think all of other families, part of their formula will be water. And so, all of your stilbites, all of your Hewlandites, all of your, that class of minerals all have water as part of their formula. But some dehydrate much quicker and easier than others. And the ones we're talking about are those kind. So just keep that in mind. So I hope you get here, because you'll be the only other one I can talk to that will have a Geiger counter, and we can talk that Geiger talk. But learn up and roughly study and look at the different conversion formulas for taking the count per minute and converting it to the amount of time you can spend with something and still be safe. And you're going to find that that's a lot of time. So I'm sure you're being overly cautious, but just make sure that you're not too overly cautious. Because listen to this. I think I figured out specimen storage and display. Listen to what he's got. May use an apothecary cabinet purchased years ago. It has 3 windowed sections and many drawers. Items can be laid out in the drawers with labels to be opened and viewed. Of course, the special lead-lined cabinet will hold some items separately. We'll attempt to test my memory for trivia. Matt, I know exactly what kind of cabinet you're talking about. Those are stunning. I've always wanted one of those when I see them in movies, even as a set, or when I see them in older pictures. And there's actually a place up in Saltee. It's a little town in North Georgia outside Helen. And they have an old general store. And part of it is left frozen in time, and apothecaries with all the different tinctures and everything that they had, and the cabinets. It's like, oh, those people with cabinets. One time I was fortunate, I was able to get an old watchmaker's bench, and those are stunning compared to a jeweler's bench. And the other thing that I recommend if you want to find something that's really cool are the old the old trays, forget the name that they call them, and they have the letters in them for the newspapers, where you would put the different letters, and so they have all these little sectioned wooden compartments, and you can put it up on the wall, and you put all these little specimens in them, and then also the old library. Remember when libraries had index cards? That index card holders were wooden, were really nice. They pulled out very smoothly, were beautiful, and I've bought many of those, and they're stackable, usually all the same width, and those are great for holding things. And also they actually have the little metal area you can slip a card in to tell you, put whatever information you want regarding it. So look for those if you want another good idea for storage. But great job on scoring the apothecary cabinet. All right, testing your memory on the trivia questions. Name 3 primary locations where malachite comes from. Namibia, the Congo, and Morocco. Well done. Name 3 minerals shown that were botryoidal form. Malachite, azurite, goethite. Well done on those. Live long and prosper. Same to you, sir. Miss Barbara says, hi, Professor Shawn, Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. Thanks for another fun show. And extra thanks for the lovely Moroccan barite. Having a dialogue with you, the crew, and the Rock family via the comments is a weekly treat. We play, we learn, we commiserate. It's a big part of what makes the show destination viewing each Monday afternoon. Barbara, that couldn't be a bigger compliment. Destination viewing. Wow. Thank you. And the goodies too, of course. Snag the nice blue appetite slice this time around. I couldn't remember, Barbara. I knew there was someone that had mentioned that he missed out on that and wanted one. So I hope it was you then, if that's the case, because then you fulfilled it. I just knew there was someone out there, and if you watch the show, then the prize goes to the person that watches and sees the item that they missed before, because I didn't even know I had that slice. That slice appeared, and this happens all the time with me, in another box with some other stuff. And it may have been the CPM, the count per minute, that maybe I set it aside for that because I like that part. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. But I just remembered, I think that little actually inclusion that goes through it, I think there's fluorescence in it. I'm remembering that much. So, good job on getting that slice. I see another Alton, and I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I always say Alton. It's Tyube, and it's in Kazakh. So maybe, how would you, Tayub? Let's call it that. I see another Alton Tayub dioptase. I got the previous one at the same time. Mineral Record published a cover article on it because it's the type location for dioptase. Cool coincidence. Correctly described and named by none other than our friend Rene Just Aoui. And I love saying Aoui. And, you know, there's Aoui, and some say Aoui. Great mineral, beautiful blue mineral. Rene Aoui has named and described more minerals, I think, than any other person in the field. And this is, of course, going back in the 1800s and whatnot, maybe even a little longer, but just an extensive, his collection, his knowledge. Imagine having a Wayback Machine and going back and getting to talk to someone like that, and to see his collection and whatnot. And you're talking about type locality minerals, you know, which is referred to that as a point of its original discovery. As to the trivia, the countries you mentioned for malachite were Namibia, Morocco, and Congo, but there are so many more, like Russia, with all those monumental carved vases, and Bisbee, USA, Mexico, and now cool stalagmites and eyes from China. We are truly spoiled for choices and varieties. The botryoidal grape-like minerals you pointed out were malachite and azurite layered together, and manganese oxide as gossan. Well, the other two were coral and goethite I was looking for. So you kind of got me there on the gossan, because what the goethite was the backside of that azurite and malachite specimen that had all this really well-formed grape-like clusters, and it was really probably a limonite, but there was also darker ones, which was probably manganese oxide. And so, yeah, I like to think that gossan is more of a non-crystalline form of matrix, because gossan is often used for the term for matrix that is of an iron and manganese oxide form, but usually massive form, and not a beautiful crystallized form like that specimen is. So, but I have to accept that, because most likely there is a manganese oxide as gossan, and it was probably botryoidal, even if it was a layer over the goethite that was underneath it. Still stewing up here in the baked apple, hoping for relief this weekend. Hiding inside the AC has made extra time to catch up on Mineral Magazine reading and St. Marie aux Mines show videos online. So not all bad. I saw that. I saw they were exactly what you're referring to, and wished I had time. Keep cool, all. Miss Barbara from Brooklyn. Okay, so that's it. Congratulations to the four of you. Almost all of you got almost all the right answers, so well done. But unfortunately, there can only be one winner unless there is no winners like last week and all four people got a prize. Well, the lucky person for this week, when we get all the right answers, we assign a number, and then I ask Dave or Asif randomly to pick one of the numbers, and it's amazing how it works out. It really is magic, because it seems like everyone evenly wins. No one just wins that one after the other. That's kind of cool. Okay, let's show you what might cause trivia envy for some. Item number 1185824. The winner is Matt in Texas. Let's take a look, because these go back in my life so far back that it's really old stock material. Probably even before some of these treatments were in play, because so these are no treatment turquoise. Do you need the information also? Was it put in? Do you need the info?
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. And everyone can just see it that way too. No enhancement Arizona turquoise, 23 carats, 6 stones, free item, cabochon collection, circa 1970. See, I forgot about it. So 1970s. So that is when I was a teenager. I graduated high school in 1979. So, you know, that 70s show, I always talk about, I said, I am that 70s show. Growing up in the 70s was amazing. I wouldn't want to grow up in the 80s. Music was terrible. Music in the 70s was rocking. All right, let's take a look now at the stones, because what is special about them is a lot. Okay, there's some that are doublets, and they do that to support the turquoise, because turquoise often forms in thin seams. So to recover the material, it comes out in pieces because, of course, a lot of the inclusions. So if you get a piece big enough so it doesn't continue to fall apart or dry out or whatnot, if you're going to keep it in its non-treated, and the important thing here, Asif, is the no enhancement on that. So I'll let you see that one more time. And the circa 1970s, because these happen to be stones that I actually remember and have seen throughout the years. All right, so they will often back them with the matrix material close by. That is part of maybe the seam. So it really blends in well, and sometimes difficult to tell whether it's a doublet or not. And this one might be one of those, because I don't think that that's a doublet. I think that's just on matrix. This has no doublet. You could see, though, that it could fall apart, but it is so old. If it, the reason why they treat so much turquoise is for that reason alone. They tend to turn into powder and dry out because they lose their water content when they're brought to the surface and exposed. When any part of it dries out, just like as in opal, it can create crazing in an opal. It causes terrible damage with turquoise as well. When they treat them for color, you can tell, because any of the inclusion lines, the color will concentrate in them and it'll be darker than the surrounding area. So you can see none of that is in play here. That is a solid piece. And, you know, even though this is a free item, it is, I don't show turquoise much, but it's certainly worth giving you the information so you can understand it better, even as a free item, even if I'm not selling it. And that's the special part of this show as well. Even for something free, I have the liberty to be able to talk about, educate you about it, because you know what? You know, we have a whole nother floor here with incredible vendors, with incredible jewelry, with incredible Sleeping Beauty turquoise, with incredible Native American jewelry, and Tibetan turquoise. I know all of these stones really well. So it will help you in your surfing the other shows and learning from all of them. All right, so in this piece, again, you can see by the coloring that it is natural color. To not have crumbled apart without having been treated over all these years is an amazing thing in itself. See that back bevel on it? See that angle? That is one I can actually tell that I not most likely, I did cut that one. I actually can know my style. And that is, back bevel on that one would have been one that I would have cut. See that? With that turquoise, with minimal to almost no back bevel, where you cut the back edge at an angle, which greatly reduces chipping. And you see how large that one is. So on these kind of stones, I'd have put a large one on it. It is easier for setting as well. Look at the color to this. Now there's your Sleeping Beauty color in a natural turquoise. This one, you can see by that even line across the bottom that it is like right through that. It has been backed. It's a doublet. But look at the material. I say that, but look how it blends in so well. This actually may not be as well. Yeah, there's no line there, no seam there. This is not a doublet either. Okay, I'm going to have trivia regret here in a moment, because I gave these away. That's kind of crazy. Look at this. Look at this gem. Wow. Completely natural turquoise that looks like that. That's really cool. That goes back that far back. I don't know. There's several different Arizona mines. You might be able to cross-reference the inclusions and the look of them to find out where. But I know it's from Arizona. Beyond that, there are several different mines it could be from, and look like that. So Arizona is as good as I can get for where they would have come from. But there you go. Free. How about that? All right, let me put them up, and I have an amazing show coming up for you. Be right back. All right, remember, and I know you do, that I've promised you homemade crystal growing for a long time. Well, we haven't gotten around to that, or have we? I am going to show you the full shot of this in a minute, and your jaw is going to drop. I opened a cabinet in my office this morning, and this cabinet I have not opened. It is set at room temperature in the dark for years. This particular untouched, it's been at least 3 years. I had no idea. This is a new bottle, never been opened, and obviously there is an evaporation that, when you hear about evaporational deposits or crystals, like the salt crystals that form every year out west, and there is the sulfur we talked about earlier coming out of the fumaroles. That also, as the hot gases come out, the crystals will leave the gas and go back to a solid and form crystals. Well, this has been something else. This is something where, as the liquid slowly evaporated out, it has formed a stunning display of Mother Nature with your home products. Look at this. So you can see the level it's at, and most likely everything up to that curvature has been evaporated out. This is the way crystals form in nature. This is how it's done on the inside of a pocket. Let me show you. Look at how fine the crystallization is. Look at that. And then look at it. It looks like a spider's leg. That would be a great name for that style of habit of crystal. Look at that. And why does it form those segment-looking portions? Remember, I wanted to be a crystallographer. The science of being a crystallographer was far beyond what I think my brain could have ever handled. And then let me show you this. Here's another mineral, I think, altogether. This right along here in that formation, and a different color. Now, let me point to what you're going to look at next. Right here. I told you this show was also about education, science, and learning. Look at these. We learned about botryoidal formations. How about this? We have one right here. Talk about grape-like. Look at those round spheres of a completely different color and crystal form. Therefore, they are a different mineral altogether. And then look at the white crystals forming on top of them. As we continue around this piece, look at that. Look at how fine the detail, and that's a 10-power loop. And so when you see these crystals that we're going to see here in just a moment, this gives you an idea of how they can form in an open area at room temperature. And in geologic time, a few years is not even a blink of an eye, is nothing. I mean, there's pockets that take millions of years to form. Look at that. Now, I accidentally broke off a much larger piece than the one you see over here on the left. It came down and swirled out stunningly, way out away from it. And that had to take such a long time. Look at this one as it continues to grow. And the tip of it, I mean, that looks like the tip of a scorpion's tail, but look at how fine that is. Almost like the root of a bamboo shoot, I know. I've had grown bamboo. And that's how they penetrate everything with that. Look at the detail in the crystallization. It's like spider leg. And then one last, as we complete the coming around of this piece. Okay, as we look right down along here, look at that. I mean, it is Mother Nature in my cabinet. So there you go. And now, to show you what it grew from, this is what is referred to as for creating patina on silver, gold, copper, and bronze. It is a solution with hydrochloric acid. Now, to form these white crystals, if it's just diluted hydrochloric acid, both evaporate out equally, the water. And what hydrochloric acid is a gas that is saturated into the water. It wouldn't create it. There has to be another element or two, because what this is formed is a salt, a chloride. You get the chlorine from the HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. It's only made up of hydrogen and chlorine. To get the salt, you need, because table salt is only NaCl, sodium chloride. That's all table salt is, totally edible. You eat the wrong salt, you die. You eat the right salt, you live. Salt is required for living, the right salt. This white crystalline matches up with zinc chloride. Sulfur chloride would be possible, because sulfur is another agent used that you can use naturally to create a dark color. What they call it, liver of sulfur, actually, you can buy. And you put that on silver and it'll certainly darken it in a very more natural way than using hydrochloric acid such as this is. So, and you get a really strong sulfur smell. If you take a rubber band, wrap it around a silver coin, it doesn't take long, only maybe days before you start to see a tarnish right where the rubber band is. Why? Because to create rubber takes sulfur. And the sulfur and the silver come together to create silver sulfide, the patina that you see on silver. So this is hydrochloric acid, never been opened, but obviously a problem with the seal. Left alone, room temperature, in the dark for a few years, just has shown us what Mother Nature can do in thousands of years. Imagine the size and the delicacy and of the crystals that we see now. It's easier to understand them. It doesn't take a hot volcano. It doesn't take a smattering of all kinds of elements coming together. It mostly just takes time. And there we have it. Okay, so that's a quick little learning lesson there. Now, let's get to the goods, and boy, do I have them. So where do we start? I tell you what, I'm going to start with something that for many of you, it will be a completely new mineral you don't have, and it is called annealite. It is item number 1190224. Annealite. Now, annealite, and it could be pronounced a little differently. It could be because the language is Maasai. And so annealite, it could be pronounced as. It is a name given to this amazing specimen that there is less and less of, and certainly less and less that I have to offer in it. At one time, I'd bought a flat. It's one of the most expensive flats of anything I have ever purchased. Look at that. That is, with many of these, you do not get the well-formed crystalline shape. And also, there's so much to talk about here. So where the word anyolite comes from, which is Anyolite, it is the Maasai word for green. And, or enniol is enniol. So, of course, being a mineral, you add the ite to it, and there you go. So that is the word that they've given it. Other than that, technically, you would have to call it a pargasitic corundum zosite. And I didn't make that up. I actually read that when they were talking about the acceptance of the word enniolite. And because that's what we're looking at here, the three together, but it is not classified as a rock. So you have the corundum being the ruby, and without a doubt, that is the color of ruby. That's not like, there's no color other than that you could assign. You can't call this a sapphire in any way. In other words, it's not a pink sapphire, purple sapphire. No, that is a true red, as in ruby. The green, zosite. Now, in the original discovery of this was only in 1954, this deposit. And the person that found it first thought he hit a fortune's worth of beautiful giant rubies and saw all these dollar signs. But then he came to find out that none of the rubies had a clarity except for very small areas for cutting. So I imagine his heart was really dashed. I know that feeling. But nevertheless, it is one of the most stunning mineral specimens in the world because of the red on green. What an aesthetic look that is. And the black, they always call these black, and they used to be called a type of hornblende as Shermukite. But I'm going to explain that to you. These are not actually black to start with. They are actually pargasite, but they are and if you have one at the edge deep and they're big enough, they actually are a super dark deep green. Yep. Super dark deep green. Pargasite. The difference being that, ready for this? And see, this is why we go into the chemistry side a little bit, because the difference between Shermukite, calling it Shermukite, or calling it pargasite, is to be pargasite, there has to be a sodium content of, I believe it is less than 5%, or less actually than 4%. I think it's not 4%, it's 0.0. 0.4%, I believe, is how it would read out. But in the world of minerals and chemistry of rocks and minerals, that makes a big difference between a level of 0.7%. And at that level, it is pargasite. And of course, with the kind of equipment they have to measure things these days, they can tell the difference. So that has finally been clarified, that it is a pargasite and not a Shermukite type of hornblende. Now, the green zosite, if you heard of zosite before, well, it is because tanzanite is purple zosite. That's it, simple as that. But there are so many other different properties, whether it's this green zosite or whether it's incredible facet grade quality of the tanzanites. Very different chemically, but the difference makes all the difference in the world, because none of this zosite is ever a clarity that you can facet. But it does have an amazing property. And for you fluorescent lovers, this is probably the most impressive piece I have shown for fluorescence because of the difference it makes in the color. The green zosite, and I'm just using a depending on the wavelength you use of the long wave ultraviolet light, it'll change this. But basically, an amazing blue-gray color. It is amazing the change from this beautiful bright green to blue-gray, and it is so specific and so lineated that the light just at the very edge of it, even with other light on it, it changes. So you'll get green right here as the edge of your flashlight or whatever your UV light is, and right next to it you have the regular green. It is just like a switch for wherever the light hits it, and it's stunning. Of course, we know ruby because of the presence of chrome. This ruby goes from an incredible, beautiful red that it already is to a, oh man, it is a fire engine stop sign on steroids for color. It brightens up, oh, the most stunning, stunning red. Now, let me show you something else that's neat about this crystal. You can actually see the growth symmetries and the crystal in these other lines like that. That's really neat. What that also would tell me, if you actually cut that there's a chance that it would form a star of some form or another. Now, here is something else that's really special about this. Let's look at the wheel. Besides other little additional spots of ruby, it goes all the way through. Oh yeah, you get your money's worth here. And if you look, it is the full entire crystal. There's just this yellow material over it. What is this yellow material? I am not sure. I have I tried to look and see if any other specimens under Mindat were listed with it to see and figure it out. I think it might be a calcite because under a UV light, this goes a beautiful, beautiful yellow, nice bright yellow color. All of this tan. So it's not anything you want to remove if you love fluorescence. If you did remove it, you can see that you have the entire shape of the hexagonal form of that ruby coming through, which is rare. It's basically doubly terminated. You get to see both ends. And if you read up about this material, you'll actually read how unusual it is to find what they call a complete crystal. That is one that maintains its hexagonal form from one side all the way to the other. And this is a large specimen. You have other little rubies dot, but it's really a fluorescent lover's dream because every mineral here that you see, the red, the green, and then this unusual patch back here, I'm not sure you wouldn't want to display it this way sometimes. Fluoresce. The only thing it doesn't is the dark pargasite, but that's only a small part of it. So look at that. It self-displays really well right there. Imagine a fluorescent light coming on and off right there. This green turns blue-gray. This tan color turns an amazing bright yellow, and the red, flipping a switch to stop sign, and but that doesn't stop sign with a light behind it. It's really gorgeous. So there's only one place in the world where this type of material with rubies that size comes from. This is a true collector specimen. I alone have had this for 10 or 12 years. So the Mundo are mine, and the pargasite is known as a chrome pargasite, helping the color be the deep green that it is. And again, the name aneolite, or however it's might be pronounced, is becoming the accepted word for it. So, but a lot of people still just say what they call it before that was rubezoisite. Rubezoisite. All right, price on this is really a wonderful opportunity for anyone because it is a true beauty, and people can relate to ruby. So when you see, oh, this is a ruby, and someone sees that, they think, oh my goodness, that's $1 million right there. And I tell you what, I bet the guy that first found that hill of green when ruby thought the same thing. Price on this, an excellent opportunity at only $178. $178. I've seen little fragments offered for that kind of money. And the main thing, the value lies in the hexagonal shape of the corundum, and what they would call is terminated at both ends. In other words, it maintains that form all the way through. Now, a lot of them don't go all the way through. You don't get to see the other end of the red. You don't know how deep it goes in. So if we didn't see this on the back, we wouldn't know if that ruby ended 6 millimeters back there or where it would have ended. But in this case, we get to see, and you get to follow the form all the way through. And I was stunned when I first discovered a number of years ago, of course, that zoisite actually went blue-gray fluorescent. I had no idea. It really caught me off guard. It was really amazing. This is amazing to see that. That's a excellent opportunity and one of the neat pieces I have to show you. Okay, let's get going here. Item number 1189624. Now this comes with an extra little prize. First, I'll show it to you on Shawn's cheapy giveaway stand for it. Okay, so gem cup. Anybody can use that gem cup. It's actually kind of cool for certain things because it's clear and it doesn't, your eye doesn't, isn't attracted to this. Now, this is actually technically rock crystal. Rock crystal, when you hear that term used, is just high-grade quartz. It's quartz of a better quality. In other words, if this was all included and opaque and whatnot, you can't call it rock crystal. If it was actually included much more than this, you can't really call it rock crystal. But this, with very few inclusions, and the inclusions, if I get this right, there is a beautiful iris I have seen. It's in this inclusion here. Yep, there we go. Look at that. There we go. Looks like a oil. You know why it looks like that? Most inclusions in quartz is water. And so it is. Look at that. That is why I have kept this one for that one particular. But isn't that amazing? One particular iris. So we could have. I meant to put iris quartz. So if you would describe this, yeah, you could call it iris quartz. Iris, of course, was the goddess of the rainbow. And that certainly is a rainbow of color. So look at that through this on the other side. You can see it all the way through. And that's really neat. That's really neat. It is nice enough that you can upgrade it to this black onyx stand right there. And if nothing else, you can use the black onyx stand for something else if you don't want to use it for this. If you have another sphere, because this particular stand can hold, by way of weight, any weight you want to put on it. So if you've got a big, beautiful sphere and want a nice display stand, if you have a big sphere, you won't even see the stand much, but it's certainly a nice, better quality to put it on a plastic gem tube. I am going to give you both. Look at that. There's that same iris at a completely different angle down there. And wow, that's why I found this to be a treasure. But the price doesn't reflect it, because for both the stand and the crystal, how's about this? Only, doesn't really sound right. This is actually one of the bigger that I normally offer. $38. Only $38. That onyx stand, certainly cool enough. Subtract the value of that, and you really have something. Okay, let me show you. This item needs, for me, 103-1221. 103-1221. Okay, so you ought to know that I have had this next item for a little bit, but that's because it goes home and comes back and goes home and comes back, because it is really, really cool. You've probably seen it behind me in the display that the Raven does for me every Thursday, but I have not offered it really for sale. Look at the size of this. Look at this. This is a cabinet quality, and you can see that reflection, that polish? This has actually been put on a flat lap and polished. This is probably the best silica replaced coral head I have shown, because look at the other side. Boy, if that doesn't look like coral. You put this in water and you would think that you're on a coral reef. Look at the top. And remember, I'm the crazy person that had 14 aquariums one time, half of them fresh, half of them salt, and had live coral living in them, and had big aquariums. So, but what I had them for originally was started off, and then I went crazy. Was I had these amethyst crystal clusters that I put in an entire back wall of these pieces of amethyst in the aquarium, and the fish loved it to swim in and out. And the amethyst and the gravel, instead of that cheesy gravel they sell you, was all tumbled agates and jaspers. As long as you keep it silica, make sure there's no copper in anything. Copper will kill everything. It works great. So I had all these amazing agates and jaspers, and beautiful, beautiful. So that was the fun while it lasted for a number of years. Okay, so you saw that this then was sawed in two, and you saw that reflection of the polish. Here is what is so neat for you fluorescent lovers again. Along the very narrow edge of this, basically that polished area, there is a band of chalcedony that fluoresces that classic, beautiful yellow to sometimes neon yellow, and it goes around the entire piece, around the very edge of this opening. But then, let me see, where was it? Right here. Right here. Oddly enough, this little section fluoresces a chartreuse greenish color. Just that. Why? I'm sure it has to do with other elements. Look at how the replacement worked. Look at these other openings. So imagine what was going on in the 30 million years that the process took. All of Florida was not what it is that you see now. All of Florida one time was underwater, and coral grew in that area. So it was a shallow seas area. Well, as the ice ages came and locked up the water and the ice at the poles, the oceans dropped. All of central United States was one great ocean basin or sea basin. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's why you have fish in the Green River Formation, fossilized fish in Wyoming. That's why you find, marine fossils all across the central United States. It was all underwater in a shallow sea area. Well, Florida was too. So when the oceans, of course, receded, when the land dried up in the United States, and that's why you have the Great Plains. Now, when the seas receded, sand started building up on the coral reefs. That's what happens. That's how islands are formed. Well, what is sand made of? Silica. As the silica formed above the now buried coral deposits, the coral was slowly replaced, and the silica was derived from the sand, and what was a calcified coral became silicified into agate and chalcedony, and this is what we see today. The cool fluorescent band I really liked. One more thing on this other side, this area right here, and you can see that this is part of the other side, so you can see how the two layers, so to speak. This didn't fluoresce, but this one, for some odd reason, fluoresced. All of this fluoresces a beautiful yellow, yet not there. So I'll leave that out to someone else to figure out. Let me put this up and clean that up a little bit. Price on this guy, an excellent opportunity. This is one of the finest examples I have of agatized coral replacement where the coral is very evident. This is also not from Tampa Bay. It's from Withlacoochee, and a good friend of mine who has since passed away a number of years ago, John. He had a special grandfathered in license to dive the Withlacoochee River from a pontoon boat. And he had a winch, and he would find these heavy pieces of coral at times, and he would bring them up. He sawed them himself. He put them on the flat lap to polish them all himself. And a really great person who really enjoyed what he did. And he couldn't have made much money, because the price I'm going to offer this to you for, imagine what he had to go through and the luck of finding something just of this quality. There's a lot of duds you have to go through before you get something nice. Price on this guy, I'm going to offer it for only $77. Only $77. Take advantage of it. Let me clean up a bit. I'll be right back. This, yeah, surprised you there. It is frogite. Or is it toadite? Neither one. You never know what I'm going to get when I get an estate. And usually mainly it's jewelry. Well, a lot of times, things like this, silverware, unusual silver items, charms, whatnot, are part of a rock collection or whatnot. This is one of those items. It's actually quite special. And I've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it for a while. And there are people out there that collect frogs, or little carvings of pigs or roosters. Like the other week, when I had the roosters, people collect all kinds of things. If you collect frogs or toads, I bet you don't have this one. This is really special. Now, what you see on this is a silver plated item, but it has old enough, or so old, that everything you see here is a natural patina. Now, somehow this show ties itself together in magical ways, because we just talked about that liquid I showed you was to enhance patinas or create patinas on jewelry instantly. If you need them or want them for design and contrast. It's like black rhodium. And a lot of black rhodium isn't actually a true rhodium. What it is oxidized metal. But that's another story. If you wanted to make this bright and shiny, all you have to do is use that Tarnex remover stuff. But you have to rinse it really, really, really well, or else it actually will enhance the re-oxidizing of it. What's neat would be to just hand polish this, because what would happen is all these highlights would be a bright silver, and the background would be the patina, which would offer a wonderful contrast. And you can do that with just a silver cloth at home. And that's what I would recommend. Stay away from any of those gooky silver polished stuff that you cannot clean back out. You don't need that. You just need a silver cloth that has a polish in it. Now look at this. This is one of the world's most well-recognized silver manufacturers, Reed and Barton. They have been around for a long, long time and have a high quality reputation. So this is not just your any old day toad. And there's something else. Look at this. I'm only going to wind this a bit because it'll drive me nuts to hear it play beyond. Okay, so you have those two pegs there. I always have loved the way music boxes work. And so I know you already see in the graphics what it says, but let's be quiet for a minute. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I didn't want to take it out of the shot and hold it next to the microphone, but I'm sure you heard it well enough. I always like to see, how did they figure that out? How do they know where those little things go to make those little things? I remember as a kid studying on these, and then some of them I took apart. But I was that kind of kid. I want to know how things work. I just want to know how they figured where to put all those pegs. So anyway, it plays Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star perfectly. And it also would be really cool to hide things in here, because who would ever think that that comes off? Yeah, ribbit. There you go. I looked, prices on these things ranged wildly. There were some selling in England for hundreds of dollars. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I'm pricing this to make sure that it's less than you would find it any place else. And that is because I had no idea what it was when I got it. And but then I found out it's actually something, especially when I saw Reed and Barton. So how about this? $48. $48, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and you can have something that very few of anybody else would ever have. Okay, now let's get to some other goodies. Let's look at item 118-6524. Let's see, 118-6524. And this is going to really surprise you and shock you. I think it is stunningly gorgeous for what it is. Look at this. Now.
I don't have that open.
Okay. Let's take a look at what it is so we can talk about it. So we have iridescent Madagascar ammonite. And iridescent is an understatement because look at that is like opalescent. That is on both sides. This is what you want to see in the highest quality of ammonites when you're looking for ammonite in them. Now, of course, the Madagascar ones aren't anything like the Canadian ones, which, you know, there's no close second place for the iridescence and the beauty and the rarity of them. But oftentimes they're pieced together. When you get a whole one, even though it's small, this is remarkable. And about 30 million years old, older than the Canadian ones. This, what they do is polish away the outside. Now, if we look closer, you can actually see what they refer to as the suture lines. The suture lines is one way how they tell the difference in the different species of these. This is also when you saw them down the middle, they will often have those open pockets of calcite crystals, or where they grow solid across, but we'll have calcite on the inside. Look at this. So that is ammonite technically, and you know ammonite is a organic gemstone like pearl. This is where just natural sand solidified in there. You can see the complete whirl all the way to the center. Ammonites ranged in size from their maximum size of the size of like a dime all the way up to 6 feet across. And the tentacles would come out this way. So they're a type of cephalopod, and they have tentacles that come out here, and they have a siphuncle that goes all the way through. They can control their buoyancy depending on what layer of water that they liked best. Different species some hung out at the surface, some deeper, and some real deep. And they had a mode to be able to travel, but mostly buoyancy control was the big thing that allowed them to feed where they needed to. This is a remarkable piece for its size, especially on the double-sided. We'll be able to show you sutures a little better on the next one I'm going to show you. Let me just backlight this though for a moment and see if it doesn't bring out any of the suture lines. Look at it. Also will bring out the clarity of the there we go, Dave. Great. Here we go. Let's look right over here. Wow, look at that. That's like looking inside like an X-ray. I would say that where you can see all the way through there, those would be where there'd be the open pockets where the calcite crystals grow. Okay, see that right through there? You can see the suture line. Suture line looks like a dendritic formation. So you can see it going across 3 or 4 different chambers there. I'll show you them a little bit better in another picture. Thank you, sir. All right, price on this guy. I have a great opportunity. I wish I had more because I know there's going to be like every one of you wanting this. you can find some of these for only a few bucks, but none of them are going to have that type of color, that type of iridescence. And when you get beyond the red, the other colors become more valuable. So I saw purple in there. I saw yellow. There's, of course, orange, green. Those, when you have all the colors like this, that really adds value to it. Oh, you can see some of the suture lines here at the edge where they've polished in a little further. Price on this guy, let's give you a really neat deal if you want to add to a fossil collection. Having some calcite in it, I didn't check it much for fluorescence, never know. Might have some kind of unusual fluorescence, not very noticeable. $24. $24 for that guy. Okay, let's get to the other one I wanted to show you. 1190124. 119, whatever I said, 0124. Sticking my thumb in my eyeball until I could feel the backbone of the socket at this point. It didn't help my brain. I think it, yeah. Look at this. Okay, so this is kind of the opposite. This doesn't have as much iridescence, has very little, but what it has, these are called the suture lines, this dendritic type of formation. And by paleontologists can tell oftentimes by the pattern and the style of that what variety of ammonite they are, because there are a lot of different varieties, and they survived a couple of extinctions. The big one, the dinosaur killer one, also took out the ammonites pretty much at that point. You can see in this what is so special about this one and why I have had it for a number of years, because I have never found another one. I could tell when I picked it up there was something a little different about it. It just felt a little lighter than it should if it was to be solid. And so, you know, the ones you've seen with the open pockets and the calcite crystals in them, you can actually see the crystals right through here. If you cut this one down the middle, right through here, that's what you would get. This would be one with those hollow open pockets with the calcite crystals exposed. And so when I saw that and felt it, I said, yeah, that's what's going on. I said, so let me check it for fluorescence. And oh boy, this had some really neat fluorescence because of the calcite. And the part that fluoresces is everything in between the suture lines. So you can see all these areas in between has a fluorescence. Now, let's look at it for iridescence, and sometimes you have to get it at the right angle. Not as much on here, but there is one place. There it is. Look at that. And along here, you have, look at that. Isn't that weird? How it just runs along that little line right there. And then you have some over here in this area. But it looks like the iridescent part was actually polished off. You can see the, is what it looks like. So I think what was really to be shown off in this piece was those beautiful, beautiful sutures. So if you collect them, you need one of both. You need an iridescent one, and you need one that shows the suture lines. And then also you can imagine better when you have one that's cut open, because any collection should have one that is sawed in two. But this one then, you can see exactly how that could occur and how you would get your open pockets. Of course, I would never recommend sawing this in two, because it is a much more special the way it is, because there's mystery left, the unknown of what it could look like and what it would look like. And it also would be really difficult. You'd have to hand hold it, most likely, because to vise this up for a saw would be difficult. Hand holding would be much easier, but you have to be really good at doing that, or else you will cut it off at an angle and ruin both halves, and that would not be welcome. Price on this guy, again, its beauty is in the fact of its exceptional suture lines that are indicative of, most likely this is a Cleonoceras. I didn't put that in there, but description because it didn't have room. So you can look it up. Cleon will get you far enough. The rest is Ceras, so Cleonoceras. And there you have it. Price on this guy, how about? Wow, a great deal. And that would only be $28. Wow, $28. I don't have another one of that. I had kept that one all this time because it was hollow and it had beautiful, beautiful suture lines. But again, there's a time for every season, and its time is now. Okay, I have some opals to show you. But first, let me get to something else that I finally decided to sell. My friend Sergio, talked about him before. He is the guy that early on in his new career as a gem dealer, through his uncle's help, and he was in his early 20s, big, he's Brazilian, and he's just a huge womanizer at the time. And I've known him since not much longer after his start. And when he told me this story, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But it was the true story. So first, let me show you, because he ended up owning the Bella Vista mine, which is an imperial topaz mine. So he's come a long way after I tell you the beginning of his start. Let's look at item number 1190424. 1190424. Now, I have this parcel and one other similar weights, so that I'm offering, but a different item number. This is the real deal, and imperial topaz with very often topaz will have inclusions, because to get topaz that is clean, and I'm not talking about blue or white topaz, I'm talking about the real deal. Look at that. That is absolutely facet grade. There is, look at that. So you can see some of the pinkish sherry colors that are make it into the imperial class, along with the rich golden yellow colors. Look at that. Absolutely, in the world of topaz, that is facet grade quality. Here's another piece that is very clean, and then this one, 12.72 carats, Ouro Preto, Brazil, and from my buddy's mine. So his start, it's a great story, but I'll just simplify it and shorten it. And as you watch these, he had as part of a gem dealer working for his uncle, one of his first duties was to take a suitcase full of faceted amethyst and deliver it to another dealer. Well, this young, very attractive Brazilian was so impressed when he saw that suitcase full of amethyst and these sparkling gems. He thought to himself, well, without a doubt, this will get me a girl. And so, of course, he brings a girl and he shows her all these gems, and she is just as enamored by them as he is. They spread the entire suitcase full of amethyst out. And I'm talking about, it was in different bags, okay? Different sizes, calibrated sizes, all these, and up to very large sizes, okay? And they thought it would just be a blast to spread them across the bed and have their fun on top of them. On top of them. He told me, he said, Shawn, by the time we were done, he goes, over 80% of them had to be recut. They chipped and broken, so many of them. His uncle was furious. He thought he would never be allowed to be anywhere close in the business again. It's funny because he ended up to be a high-end and still is Brazilian emerald dealer, working with like the Santa Teresita mine and some of the ones that produce these beautiful, beautiful, finest Brazilian emeralds that you've seen. And he now has each emerald. They are so meticulously bagged up. And he doesn't even use the Ziplocs. These are even a higher class bag to prevent it. And when you're in front of him and working with his emeralds, you have to know how to correctly tweeze them, use a tweezer with them, and put them in and out of the bags, or else he will correct you. And it's just funny because we know his from whence he came. Price on this parcel, it's going to be the same as the other parcel, so don't rush ahead. I have a really great opportunity on either one of these. They are only going to be $58 each. Let's look at the next parcel because it's a different weight, so I have a different item number. 1190424. 1190424. It's only a few points difference in the weight, but giving you a choice. All right, so we're going to scoop those 5 away, and we're going to put these 5 away that also weigh in the 12 carat range. Yeah, can you imagine destroying that many amethysts for fun? Yeah. He had no idea. He had no idea. Never even thought about them breaking. Look at this. Look at this. Now, this is what is the really good stuff. And someone had a go at cutting it. It's actually partially faceted. But look at what can happen. And that is the problem with topaz. But unless you know how to cut them, because of the cleavage plane in them is so strong. You see the white topaz crystals I've showed you before, how perfectly cleaved or split they are? You have to cut the table 15 degrees off of that cleavage plane or else they will split every time on you. So you can see that this is one of the best colors, but there is, and it is, was almost completely faceted. And at the end of it, a piece split off. But that is easily one to recut. Here's another one of them. Look at that. Absolutely facet grade quality. Look at the size of them. 12 point. Okay, wait. I think the weight of these. Did we get the right item number? Because it's a little bit different weight on this one. So this one, yeah, are they right weights? Oh yeah, they are. It was a little different weight, but yeah, 12.72 is fine on both. I don't think I changed the weight on them, even though you'll find a few point weight difference. So look at these. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Whether you keep them just as specimens and put them on a wonderful glass shelf or in a beautiful display tube, no matter what you do, they're going to be something most people won't have. And that's the real deal in topaz. And you get a great story to go with them. Same price on these, $58. And 5 stones. Take your pick. I know the mine. I know the fella. I got a lot of other stories regarding him. It's the same mine also. I got to tell you one more quick one while you're watching these. Let me try to center them, Dave. Sorry about that. One more quick story. So he would make regular trips back to the United States from his mine. And while he would be gone, that's when he would come see me at our jewelry store. While he was gone, his cousin would manage and run the operation of the mine. Now, topaz crystals in the Oro Prado, most of them are found in a very decomposed matrix. In other words, the rock around them, topaz, remember, is hard, hardness of 8 on the Mohs scale. And a lot of times, the matrix of a material will not last as long as the crystal does when it comes to erosion and etching, just Mother Nature geology. While he was here in the United States, his cousin found a approximate over 4-inch long, purple, pink, natural imperial, and at that rate, what do you call it? Imperial topaz? I don't know. But when you get into the pink color, it is the most expensive color. When you get into the purple pink, or the reddish end of the pink colors, that's when the price of the topaz just goes insane, especially if there's been no treatments done to it, which most topaz, the most thing you can do is heat it. Unless it's the white topaz, then you zap it with radiation and you turn it blue. Then you have to let it cool off, and then you can cut it. So his cousin found, while he was gone, this stunning crystal. And his cousin, having no idea of the actual value, took it around to a couple of the dealers to get prices. And when one dealer was willing to offer $25,000 for it, his cousin thought that was all the money in the world and took the deal. Sergio told me, he goes, Shawn, that crystal, just as a specimen alone, even if you did not cut it, was in the range, he said, of 300,000 as it was cut, maybe upwards of $500,000. It wasn't one of these long, thin pencil, 4-inch long crystals. No, this would have cut large stones. It would have cut. In the world of topaz, that color, and the crystal, he said, was just completely clean. Whoever he sold it to, took them, just absolutely cleaned them. And he knew Sergio, he knew the real value. And and the cousin was so excited about telling Sergio the deal he got. And Sergio just wanted to string him up right then and there. It was one of the stories I'll never forget. It's just like that opal story, but that's for another day. Or maybe when I get to show you these opals here in a moment. So let's start off taking a look at item number 118-9924. 118-9924. So if any of you have been watching the show for any length of time, one of the last greatest pieces of custom jewelry I made was for one of the most stunning lightning ridge opals you could ever imagine. Now, I'll tell you the rest of the story in a moment. Take a look at these two. Here we have, speaking of opals from Australia, let me show you, or actually, opals from Australia coming up. We also have one from Coober Pedy, Australia, and an Ethiopian. It's obvious to tell which is which. The Ethiopian ones, for the majority of them, often have a yellowisher kind of tint to them. Coober Pedy is known as just having a lot of very white, bright opals. And this is one of them, versus Lightning Ridge, which can be, look at this. This is stunning reds and oranges in this opal. And when you hold it at the right angle, you can get a couple of different, look at that, plays of color. Look at the blue at that. See, that's what I mean. Look at that. And wow, so this is, classic Coober Pedy. This is the quality opal that is used in most commercial jewelry. It's not the high-end material, but it's certainly not a dud when you have the reds, the blues, and all those colors like that in this piece. Really nice back bevel, nice cut. The Ethiopian opal, this is, not a lot of value to it, but I thought it'd be fun to add to if someone needed a neat, bright, small stone. I like the high dome to the cab. There's certainly nothing wrong with the beauty of Ethiopian opals. They're gorgeous. They just have unusual properties. Being hydrophane, they absorb and water, and they also can dry out water, and they do that without crazing, which is kind of phenomenal. So anyway, I am a chance on these two. Let me put these topaz up. You're going to love it. So both of these stones for only $38. And of course, that one Coober Pedy stone is worth well beyond that. So the rest of the story goes like this. That stunning opal that a client had bought in Australia, he paid over $50,000 for the stone. And in looking at it, the opal, I would have to say, was worth more than that. But when I got to see it, it was in a little bit different form. So it's when I owned my second custom jewelry store. And we were known to all the other jewelers to have me. In other words, a lapidary. And so when this high-end jewelry store received this client, what happened next is something as being in that position many times, I can only imagine and hope that's all I ever get to do is imagine what happened next. In talking about making a piece of jewelry on this opal, and I'm talking about the opal was like 50 carats. I can't remember the total weight, but the owner of the jewelry store, however he did it, he dropped it and broke the opal in two. Luckily, only in two perfect pieces, almost equal distance, equal size from one to the other. The opal was a little bit freeform. And at that point, all the jeweler could do was to pay the client for basically the loss, because we ended up owning the opal at, of course, a discounted amount. And I cut both halves, and then a wonderful, wonderful client bought both halves, and on the agreement that I would personally make a piece of jewelry for them. And that was part of the deal, or else she wasn't going to buy them. And so it was a number of years ago, probably, I think it was before this show, or right about at the time of the show. Actually, it was at the beginning of this show, because I remember, I think some of you will have seen it. And we named the piece. Where the two pieces came together, I put a strip of diamonds across it. It was bezel set all the way around, made as a pin pendant combination. Stunning. It looked like still one big opal. And it was named Reunited. Reunited, because the two halves were reunited as one. You couldn't tell that they had been broken due to the my clever design. And unfortunately, I had not heard from the client in 6-7 years, and I got a email out of the blue saying that her husband had passed away, and he was a big part of the project. And so I was appreciated to hear that. And she said that, she hoped to be reunited with him one day. Some of the stories are difficult to tell. The parts of dropping it are easier than other parts, but as someone that has held incredibly valuable opals, well beyond that value, I hold them not with two fingers, but just in the palm of my hand, and make sure that what's underneath me is not of a substrate or anything that would crack an opal. In other words, nice thick carpet. So a terrible story, but I can just only imagine how his heart must have just fallen, and then the dollar signs must have just rolled off in his head at how much he just lost by dropping that client's stone. Wow. Wow. All right. Let me put these up, and I have another opal coming to you. Be right back. The thing about the Wello Ethiopian opal discovery that it brought to the marketplace was faceted opals. You didn't see that much done. And actually, when I first learned and took, got my first faceting machine and only had one lesson and took off from there. But I couldn't help it. One of the first things I wanted to cut was an opal. It was just Australian opal. Didn't even have it, any crystalline clarity to it, but it didn't matter. I just wanted to fasten an opal, and I did. And they're so easy to polish. It was fun to do. And I remember liking to do it, but I never had any crystal material like this to work with. Back then, there was no Ethiopian opals. It would have cost a fortune in an Australian opal to have a stone that would cut. like this. Now, this has the classic amber type hue to the Ethiopian opals. Cut doesn't matter as much. In other words, if it windows, that's not the point. The point is just to be able to see all the fire, and the extra reflections are kind of neat. I have sold a lot of these, a lot, in the years past, and there's just been a lot of different markets for them. I prefer the original Macesso chocolate opals. Those were cool. There ended up to be a lot of them, which ended up to affect the market on them. You know, personally, having been down in Australian opal mines and cut and bought and sold so many of them, I love and prefer Australian opals. Opal is my favorite gem. My mom's birthstone and my son's birthstone. This beauty, though, this is a great stone. It's a beautiful, beautifully faceted, and has stunning colors. And I can offer you this well below what it would sell for. And that is only, I think that opal's moving on me, $28. I kid you not, $28. I don't know why I would sell it that inexpensive, but why not? 28 bucks on that. Okay, now let me show you. We'll do one more opal item because this is a shocker. This is item number 1153624. 1153624. It's a shocker that it has not sold yet. This is my Cupid. Cupid, of course, the true story to Cupid is a kind of funny one, because a lot of people think Cupid's this sweet, kind little thing. No, Cupid was a one of the gods that was a not very nice one. So, as the story goes, Venus's son is Cupid, Venus, the goddess of love. And Cupid has horns on him for a reason. He was told to shoot his love of his life, who was Psyche. It sounds like made up names from a game, but these were actual names given to the Roman gods. But instead of killing his girlfriend, ordered by his mother, he pricks himself with the poison arrow, forever binding them against his mother's wishes. So kind of a Romeo and Juliet type story. Let me show you. This has fire and color throughout the entire opal. You can see all the layers of color. It kind of was curious why the cutter ended up carving it. But I think it's because these layers didn't run straight. And because they curved, you weren't going to be able to maybe cut a stone at the same level. Look at actually truly all that color. It just happens to be blue that blends in well. But look at the carving. Look at that little mean little guy. Look at the other oranges and yellows in this. This is a beautiful opal, especially overall. Look how big this is in my hand. Okay, so I've offered it a couple times. You don't seem to want them, but I'm going to make a deal on it that I don't know how you could pass it up. I didn't know how the last price you could pass it up, because when you figure the price per carat on this, the last price I offered it for, I think was like $3 a carat or something. I mean, come on, that kind of opal for that kind of price. But how about this then? How about this? Let's go ahead and kind of crazy, because I can only imagine what this would have cost originally. Certainly more than that. Ready? Less than $2 a carat. Make it $98. $98. And if anyone would have bought it at that other price, it would have been well worth it. Well, I'm just giving someone that wants to have a really unique item at a really amazing pricing opportunity. Right there. That is, look how large that carving is. And a wonderful semi-crystalline look to it. Now, oh, yes, one more. 118-9724. 118-9724. And let me show you. So speaking about opal, I seldom offer what I'm getting ready to show you. So I have my little pan of water because in this parcel, there is a mix. I have 3. Here they are, and here's what they look like before I dunk them in the water. 3 pieces of opal rough, and there are preformed, or, well, I actually, opals are sold by weight, but so much of the weight, especially in Ethiopian opals, ends up to be the matrix material that the rhyolite that they're found in. And you pay for that. So grind that off, then look at what you have. So I have in these an opportunity. These are all wood cut, all of them cut really nice stones. I ground away the rhyolite and just left the coarseness. Now, the other curious thing, and I haven't done this in a while, so we might look at them here in a few minutes, is remember, this opal is hydrophane. It absorbs and dissipates water. Water is always a part of opal. It just depends on how much of a part. You saw the color and what they looked like before. I'll bring them back in a few minutes. Let's sit them in the water and let's see what you get. So in the meantime, while that's going on, let's look at the rest of this parcel. Here we have the rest of them. Some are crazed to be recut or just enjoyed. I know I had several people that liked the crazed opals and wanted more. Yeah, there you go. You can see that little crazing line. These are beautiful Australian crystal you see right there. That could be cut into 2 pear shapes or left as it is. Here's another one. Look at that gem with a crazed line. Again, it can be recut or just enjoyed and left as it is, because that is another beautiful crystal opal. Now look at this. There is nothing wrong with this one at all, except at the very end, it got chipped along the way, and I was just going to recut it. But instead of that, I'm just going to offer it in this parcel. That is beautiful, actual lightning ridge. All these are lightning ridge stones. Look at that. And then let's see what else. Oh, want a black opal? Here you go. Look at that. Let me get tweezers on that. Look at the color. But there is a little crazed line. Very difficult to see. And sometimes they're not crazed lines. Sometimes they're just color. Look at that. Color. Areas between splotches of color. But those aren't that. But you can see how dark of a base that is. Oh, great, great stone. Leave that one just as it is. Enjoy it as it is. There's another nice Australian. And then here is another nice crystal opal. Those and this parcel. So you see how the top of them is dry already? It's kind of like, sticking your tongue to, and it sticks to it. Not that these would do that, but some are so dry. Of course, I don't advise sticking your tongue to minerals in general, but safe like opals. Oh, here you go. Here you go. It's already doing it. Look at the edge. Look at the edge of this opal. And you see how quick that happens? When these opals first came out, quality control was having an issue because they would get opals back that weren't the same weight when they were sold. Well, if you live in Arizona, the humidity and the dry climate is going to dry the opal out. You're going to lose some weight. Or if you live in Florida, the humidity, or if you take a shower with one or get water on it, it's going to absorb water and weigh more. Upwards of 30% difference in weight, I myself noticed and calculated. Look at see the edges of it, how it's going clear? Isn't that stunning for it to be that quickly hydrophane? These will turn completely clear before it's over with. And so you're getting another neat lesson if you've never seen, you've only heard about the hydrophane properties of Ethiopian opal. You're getting to see them firsthand, of course, right here in this educational show. All three of these are showing. Some, if you're really lucky, won't do that. It won't have absorption, or if you do, it takes a long time. But these, not so, and that's probably why I have them for, but it's nothing unique. Put any Ethiopian opal in and you're going to get usually some type of change. We'll check back on those in just a few minutes. Price on this whole parcel, a lot less than what you would think. How about this? What? Oh, well, less than I would think. Sometimes I wonder. Okay, so how about this? The price I'm going to offer all these for you, this one opal is going to be worth twice that much, 3 times that much. Let's go ahead and offer that entire, everything that you see in opal right there for the whopping opportunity of $58. $58. There you go. Now that's the deal. Okay, now let me show you. I got a good one. 119-0324. 119-0324. Okay, check this out. Here is back to a wonderful, wonderful crystal cluster. And I tell you what, there is a lot of special things going on with this piece. Let me show you for a moment and hold this up to the light so we can see. Dave, you may have to do your magic or not. Okay, perfect. Okay, what I wanted to show by doing this was you see that, for one thing, you have phantoms in here. You see the multiple different stages of growth by those different line layers. Okay, so do you see that dark phantom within this crystal? All right, I just want you to notice that 6-sided darker section of that particular crystal. Now, let's look at the piece whole. Thank you, sir. Oh, that's some good light, actually, looking at it like that. Okay, 3 magnificent, large calcite crystals you have, and stunningly fluorescent. These beautiful orange, except the darker area in here. If I could show you, what would light up would be the complete outside of this beautiful orange. But this section, no. This is a multi-generational growth crystal cluster. In other words, it grew in many different stages. These are all calcites also, but grown at a different time. They're layered. You have these, see these little yellowish colored ones? What has happened there? Look at this. That's chalcopyrite. You see the iridescence on it? Chalcopyrite. Chalcopyrite has iron in it. These calcites have gotten that yellowish color tone by the iron bleeding out from the chalcopyrite. And that's why you see they're almost always associated, look at that, around or next to the chalco. There is not that much fluorescence to all of these calcites. Chemically, a different time, formed at a different time, a little different formulation, a little different response to an ultraviolet light. But that's what makes it so beautiful, is you get this giant, beautiful, well-shaped crystal, beautiful fluorescence, and these other large ones, orange, orange, orange. This whole piece. But then there's still something even better yet. And that is the backside. Thank you. This is fluorite, greenish fluorite. Now, what is so stunning about that? Well, fluorescence. It goes completely blue. It is a gorgeous blue. You have a little bit of chalco in here, a gorgeous blue. And then something really odd, which I'll leave it to whoever is lucky enough to get this piece. right along here, if we go in just a little closer, I always have to remember all this stuff. Yeah, so there is, let me make, yeah, it's on, yep, it's right through here. It's this band right through here, a super bright area of orange. I mean, like the sun orange bright. Not sure why. Not sure why. So make sure you check that out. But look at these incredible, beautiful crystal areas of the chalcopyrite with the iridescence on them tucked away. And this is one that you get to look at for hours because there's so much to see. And I have no doubt that there's probably not some other minerals on this piece that I have missed. Look at the different generations of crystalline growth. Okay, here, that's what I want to show you. Okay, so something happened to this crystal along the way. You can see in geologically something happened, maybe another rock hit it, the top of the pocket, whatever, caused a break in the crystal. Well, what happens? Mother Nature loves to heal itself. You have additional crystal growth starting to fill that in. You see another face there. Look at these little crystals in here. It is starting to fill itself back in. And that's why when you have a crystal that has what looks like damage to it, it's not such a bad thing when you have another generation of crystal growth that it makes it unique and unusual by having that area of what would appear to be damage, but it is repaired damage, and that at times makes it additionally special. So chalcopyrite, fluorite, also the fluorescence is bleeding through. So when you put the UV light in this section, it looks a little bit bluish, and that is because it is reading the fluorite through it and highlighting the color behind it. You can see, look at this. This sits on its own perfectly. Look at that. I love a specimen when it self-displays. Look at how large that is. That is a cabinet-sized, cabinet-quality specimen, and, well, cabinet quality by way of a good deal. You can get wonderful cabinet-quality stuff at the great prices if you just get it at the right place, right here. This specimen I am offering, let's see here, which one is this? At a opportunity, and that is going to be, believe it or not, which I don't believe. Yeah, okay. Here, I'm looking. Okay. How about this? $68. $68. That's a whole lot of look for only $68. Let's see what time we got. Oh boy, clock is running down. Now, this is the other one. Now, several of these items, I was really shocked that they didn't sell, but it was during that week when the show posted, but none of you could order. So if you think you might have seen some of these before, you may have, but you also, it seems, may not have, because I can't believe that I still have any of them left available, because these were some real beauty. So let me run them by you real quick here. There is that one. Okay. Let's take a look at item number, since so many of you enjoyed that malachite azurite last week, let's look at item number 1183824. 1183824. Here we go. Again, cabinet quality, cabinet size. Look at that. Look at that. When is the last time you have seen a specimen of azurite and malachite, maybe in a magazine, and say, wow, that's beautiful. I wish I had that. This is world class. World class. That's just one side of it. Yeah. Look at that. That was the ugly side. Look, I mean, look back in that pocket. This one You can spend days looking at this one. Now remember how we like the layers of azurite? Well, you get both here. You have the crystals, you have the layer of azurite like we saw in that specimen last week. And then look at these little bugs, all these pockets with the malachite layered in between. You couldn't ask or design a more attractive look. Look at back in there. Look at how far that goes. Look at that fan of malachite. Look at that. It's just a fan, a spray of it right back in there. Look at all these little bugs. There is not a side of this that, look at that is not displayable. This is one that needs to be on a spinning turntable, indeed. And sandwiched, layering, different varieties and style of malachite and azurite. Look, I mean, it is gorgeous. Let's go in right there for a moment, Dave, if you don't mind. Look at that malachite. I didn't even notice that before. So there's some botryoidal malachite right there. Completely different color. Look at back in there. This is what I'm talking about. This is one you can look at and look at and look at and find something new every time. And I am sure there's more than just malachite and azurite. This was one of my pride and joy specimens. Obviously, it showcases beautifully. Look at this. Look at this angle. We haven't even looked at this angle. Stunning. Simply stunning. I don't know which way to display it for you. I guess that will work for the moment. Okay, so because I still have that, this is one that definitely could be spun around. Why I still have it, I'm not sure. That's why I said I think some of you maybe missed the show altogether. And a real treat. So anyway, I'm just enjoying looking at it. Price on this guy, an excellent opportunity. Oh, sorry about that. And I actually should go up from what I offered it last time, but this is one of those at the price that I offered it at. It was such a good opportunity. There's just nowhere to go by way of going down in price. $188. $188. Something like that, you would go to those mineral gallery sites or those auction sites. It would $400 or $500 or more. $400-500 or well beyond. Let me show you real quick. Look at this. Look at these opals now. Look at these. Look at, okay, here's perfect. Look at how the top of that's been out of the water, what a riot, is opaque and the bottom is going clear. And same thing with the others. So the parts that are in the water. Now this one, you can see what I'm talking about. Almost the entire one, just the very center eye is left that has not gone completely translucent. And what happens is you basically also lose the color because it's so transparent that you see right through it and the color doesn't get to reflect back. So it's not always a good thing when they become crystalline looking, so to speak. Remember when I first showed them to you? They were completely opaque. Okay, let me get to another item here as the clock runs out on me. Okay, got a few minutes still left. I have here, this was another one, item 1183924. The only other person I know that owns what I'm going to show you next is Miss Gabby. There was only 2 of these. I got them as an estate deal a long time ago, and the people, they were all vendors. They were all mineral dealers, well-known mineral dealers, and they did not know what this red stone was. One said zincite, another said maybe sphalerite, ruby jack, because of the galena, and another was a cooperite. All of them were wrong. And because of that, I was able to get these at a reasonable price, and this is one of the most magnificent specimens. And when I show you and backlight them, you're going to be shocked at just how gorgeous the color is. Let me show you. Look at how beautiful and how well formed these crystals are. As Dave works his magic with the light, that allows us to be able to go deeper into that. Look at that. This one has a tremendous amount of rhodonite in relationship to the galena. And as we turn this just on the one side, you can see, wow, this is stunning. You can just see how rich the color is and how deep the transparency of the look at that, of the rhodonite is. And of course, galena is a primary lead ore, and it has, of course, a heavy weight, but by way of the volume, there is probably more rhodonite than there is galena. Look at that. Thank you, sir. That is beautiful. Look at these colors. Only some of the Padre Pariso rhodonite in Brazil, I think, matches up with it, but it's not in any beautiful matrix like this. Look at that galena matrix, and look at all the crystals of rhodonite in this piece. This is world class. And when you see those mineral specimens on the mineral sites, look at the size of them. And 25.4 millimeters to an inch. So, because a lot of them will be in millimeters. And when you actually figure out that what you're looking at is something that maybe is only an inch large or something like that, then you'll realize that something this large is much more rare and special. So they used to use just the MnSiO3 manganese silicate for rhodonite. They've added to it as a calcium, two types of manganese, Mn3 and just Mn. Triclinic crystal form named in 1819 from the Greek word for rose, and you can see why. Broken Hill Mine, 1885, it was started. And believe it or not, just this year, 2024, the mine is closed, has shut down. And don't expect it to open. They don't, always try to find a buyer or some way out, but I don't think that's going to happen. They have registered it officially as closed. So there you go. Rhodonite, this kind of specimen has just gone up. I offered it at a really decent price. I have really nowhere much to go by way of value or pricing on this, but I do want it to find a home. So I am going to give this its last discount that I can give it, everything I can. I make it only $388. $388, and that way I know that if it doesn't sell at that price, it goes back home or to a different market. Because if that one goes up in auction at some of these other sites, or if you see another one, you're going to see a specimen like that, of that kind of quality, size, and rarity at multiples of that price. Now, we still have a minute. There is something. Where did it go? Yeah, this was also a shocker that didn't sell, or was missed. 118-3524. 118-3524. Manganoan calcite. Look at the beautiful pink to this. Yes, sir. This is has a stunning. Let's see if we can get that pink show that to you. This is item 118-3524. This is from the Nika mine, the world famous mine for selenite. And yeah, let's see, where is that pink? There we go. There's the pink, right light for the right item. Manganese and calcite. So instead of just CaCO3, calcium carbonate, it is actually not allochromatic. It is idiochromatic. In other words, manganese is actually part of its chemical makeup. So that is why you get that beautiful pinkish color tone, and it's actually a stronger pink than what I'm seeing right now in person. So just picture this pink. Yeah, they were getting a little more pink out of it. But look at the dogtooth. The dogtooth calcites, you can see that classic scalenohedral formation. Yeah, there we go. You see it more as the pink, but it's even pinker than that when you get it in person. But we always like it to look better in person than here. But you can see the pink definitely. Look at that. Look at how well formed those crystals are. The other thing manganese does, the fluorescence. It has strong, beautiful, pink fluorescence. And that, look, I actually noticed this is actually growing on top of another form of calcite. It has also been cataloged by someone at some point. You can, that's how they'll often do it with that whiteout stuff and then be able to write on it. I think that's what they do. But you can see the formation to those. The Nika mine, boy, talk about a wonderful specimen from a very desirable locality and with fluorescence. Beautiful fluorescence. That's a jewel. How about this price too? Only $68. Only $68 on that guy. And for something from the Nika mine, a world famous mine, that of course is where they have those giant selenite crystals that it is so well known for. Take advantage of that one. Now, is that I had a tangerine quartz that I wanted to feature, but there it was. Yeah, let me show this one. Item 113-5423. This was another one. Surprised, because I had never seen a tangerine quartz quite so tangerine as this guy. Look at that. Look at that. It is large. So what makes that up? It's hematite. It's hematite. Sometimes it's a coating. Other times it goes all the way through the crystal. And that looks like more the case in this one, that it's not just a coating. If you ever want to ruin your specimen when it's got hematite like that on it, put it in oxalic acid or one of those iron rust removers. It will do the job and ruin your specimen. This is completely natural, and I'm offering that for only, what? Can't read my own writing. It's going to be to your benefit because it's either 78 or 38. Well, let's make it 38 since that's kind of the mood I'm in. $38 on that one. And with minutes to go, I have another item that if you collect unique, unusual stuff, this would be one you would want. Item number 117-1024. 117-1024. We talk about it. We see it on other specimens. Cerussite. Cerussite is the lead carbonate. We just saw the carbonate in the calcite, the manganese calcite. This is when it's just PbCO3, lead and a carbonate. Look at... there may be some other goodies in here. So this is extremely heavy. This is from Namibia and the Kakaveld Plateau. It is, if you ever faceted this material, it has a wonderful refractive index and a great dispersion. It's very soft though, so it's simply a collector stone, but nevertheless fun to cut. Look at the clarity of that. Look at the clarity to that. Yeah. Wow. That's well, thank you. That looks like a diamond. Oh goodness. Yeah, there is definitely facet grade material in there. If you ever wanted to cut a rare, unusual stone and facet it, this would be the one, because cerusite, other than that, if it was a great crystal specimen, you wouldn't want to ruin it by cutting it. But this is a nice crystal specimen, but certainly one that if you wanted to play with it and get a great crystal out of, thank you, sir, you could do that as well. Okay, so price on this one, how about a discount? How about a discount? It was only $48. That's why I think some of you really missed out and didn't see the show, because this certainly should have been bought for that. But I'm going to make it $38. Don't miss out, because there's not another one that I have to be had. All right. Anything else I have to show you is going to take a moment. So let me just finish up and show you these opals, what they have done in the time. Look at that. So how many minutes have we been looking at them? And they have gone almost completely transparent. And if you don't remember what they first looked like, just rewind. And you're going to see how white and opaque they were. And look at how quickly, look at that. That is facet grade clear. So, does it stay that way? No. You take them out of the water, they'll go back to their original opaqueness, and they will lose weight. So it's real fun to weigh them before and after. Look at that. You can see completely through it. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of fun and lesson there as well. Okay, that's the show, but we are doing trivia again. I'll be right back with it. Okay, so show always wraps up quicker than I want. I have several specimens out here that I wanted to get to, but there's always another show. 344 shows later. Yeah, 7 years going. So hopefully we can keep going, because you're supposed to like and subscribe. Barbara taught me that. Something I never had said before until about 5 months ago or something, when we hit 10,000 subscribers. And now it seems to be going up 100 more a month. So yeah, I appreciate every single one of you, past, present, and future. And I need all of you. I mean, tell all your friends, because we're not just about show and sell. As you can see, we're a lot about show and tell. And that was said to me by a client early on when I first started here 16 years ago, within like 2 months of starting here. And that's what she said. She said, the way you present, I know you're supposed to be about show and sell, but you make it like show and tell. And I've never forgotten that. And that was when we even showed items a lot faster. So this is where it all starts. In other words, the opal rough, the ruby rough, the emerald rough. All those crystals, you're getting to see them where Mother Nature left off, when she completed her process of beautifying the chemistry into amazing, stunning crystals. Even if the crystals aren't like the clarity and color of a fine sapphire, those white crystals on that bottle top that formed in my cabinet at room temperature, stunning. I mean, like a snowflake. It looked like there were no two areas of that same mineral alike, completely forming on their own. I would have loved to have seen over that period of time, let's say a picture taken once every week, a time-lapse photography in that. That would be really cool to see, because where else could you ever really absorb and see the formation and growth of a crystal in, that's not a well, it is a natural environment for that particular crystal because it formed. So obviously, if it formed, it was good enough for the crystal to do that. So I think that was a wonderful way to realize that it doesn't take, all this heat and energy and pressure and elements that we often think minerals are formed under. No. Sometimes they're formed just at room temperature. Many minerals are actually. So something like that. That's what can happen, okay? So then, let's say a hot solution comes by crystals like that. It can either dissolve them all away or etch them out partially, or take the elements it absorbs into that hot gas or hot liquid passing by a crystal formation, and then dissolves it into itself, and then you have a whole different chemistry makeup that can complete an entirely different type of mineral, and it gets a new name. Maybe it'll be a Shawnite one day. Maybe I'll figure something out and create. If it can be grown in my cabinet, Mother Nature has grown it. I'm curious to know exactly what it is. I don't know if there was zinc in that solution, so I don't think it could be the zinc chloride, but it is a salt. So it's going to have chlorine, and there's chlorine from the hydrochloric acid available. So it could easily be figured out. And I think that's neat. I think that stuff's wonderful. So we're still going to grow some crystals, but I'm glad in the meantime that we did grow some crystals. Okay, so 2 trivia questions for you. Ready, set? They're easy ones. So let's get lots of participation here. Is manganese calcite idiochromatic or allochromatic? Is manganese calcite idiochromatic or allochromatic? Question 1. Question 2. What type or word is given to opal that absorbs and dissipates water? What type or word is given to opal that absorbs and dissipates water? Told you they were easy. Again, thank all of you so much for your continued support, and it's needed. The old grizzled miner, he's going to be down to gums here before long. So need to get some toofies so I can get back to eating some steak. Enough with baked potatoes and noodles. God bless all of you. 7 years doing this, it's just, it takes all of you to make it happen. And I'm very, very grateful. With love and hugs to each and every one of you. My thoughts are with you all the time. And so is my appreciation. With love. See you next Monday. Cheers.